Yeah, you got the Drive Guys, Whitey and Jay and Kayla with us today. Of course, tomorrow night, the Kings taking on the Houston Rockets. Former King Ryan Hollins played 10 seasons in the NBA. He's now a TV analyst for the Rockets. Fun fact, many of the post moves that Ryan has taught Alperen Şengün are post moves that I taught Ryan on the Nerf ball hardwood years ago. That you can confirm that for us, right, Ryan?
That's confirmed. That's confirmed. you know what? During breaks, you know, Waddy you're very adamant about the sky hook, you know.
Not everybody has a touch, Ryan. You know, it's some can teach, and it's a gift. When I come out with my post moves video, can I get you to either be in it or endorse it in some way? Would you be willing to do that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's full extension. I mean, Kareem style. I mean, it is a sight to be seen.
Appreciate that. How's everything going? You guys are off to a great start this year.
Doing good, man. It's been a fun year. We got a good group of guys over here. I think obviously some things have been better than expected. You know, it's a work in progress, but nonetheless, when you look at the Houston Rockets, you can see the talent top to bottom. And I think, you know, it obviously starts with Kevin Durant, and he's showing that he's still one of the best players on the planet.
Yeah, Ryan, let's talk about KD a little bit. What's been maybe the most surprising thing that he's brought to the table?
How many shots he passes up. I play with guys who just go get their numbers. He could lead the league in scoring this year. Will he be as good? Maybe not. Would he extend his career? Would the longevity be there? Maybe not. But he's good enough to go and get 40 every night. Like you say that with certain guys that are like he can go get 40 every night, and we've seen that from him. But the amount of shots that he passes up, like he has there's a real drive in Kevin Durant that wants to see Alperen Şengün be better, that wants to see Amin Thompson flourish. Like, he genuinely wants to see these young guys excel and get better. And he's like, if you guys can set me up for a shot, even better. And you see it with his play, and he backs it up.
I wanted to ask you also, Ryan Hollins with us, about Reed Shepherd. I mean, has he made the need to replace Van Vliet less urgent? He's having a nice season.
No, man, there's always going to be a value for Fred VanVleet. He's the emotional leader and the leader of this ball club and the guy who gets everybody set. But that's an immense loss. But I think one thing Reed is doing is he's carving out his own niche. And, you know, don't get up in arms when I say this, but, you know, his closest comp is Steph Curry, where, you know, he can hit those really high difficulty shots. He's a different player than Steph. So I know Trae Young kind of got a lot of that. And we see that Trae Young's his own player, but with Reed Shepherd, he can fill it up. He's got a quick release. I will be honest, on the defensive end, he's got amazing hands, but people target him, and it's very Curry-esque. And when he gets hot, man, he can change a game in a jiffy. So he's a unique player, and it's just a dimension that you don't really see in the league, and we haven't seen since Curry. But again, I'm not calling him Curry. Let's get him there, but I definitely see the comps with the deep and the quick shooting and the way that he can get his looks off.
What do you think, Jay? Are we going to allow that?
Yeah,
Ryan's my guy, but
I was thinking about. I said, why did you gonna let him slip it in there?
He went there once, okay. Then he went back to it a couple more times. Then he tried to say, "I'm not saying he's."
I thought he was talking about Seth at first.
Seth.
Go watch the heaters that the young fella's been on. I understand the comps, fellas. I understand the comps. And watch Curry in his Curry wasn't Curry till his third or fourth year.
Yep.
So, you know, you got to understand, this is only year 2 for Reed Shepherd. I'm not saying he's going to be that. You know, that's the ceiling. I'm not throwing that out, but I understand the comps.
Oh, speaking of Steph, and this is really interesting, Ryan, and I know you've been nice enough to discuss that with us before, but you talk about Steph when he came into his own. I mean, you were right there. You guys were rivals with them, right? So you saw him and that team become a great team, but they weren't always that.
You knew Steph could shoot, but you didn't know he was going to transcend the game. And a lot of us had disbelief and for a while with Steph, because he did a lot of things we've never seen, and we didn't believe that you could win like that. You know, for three-point shooting, you know, what we always say, you live and die by the three. Okay, a team shoots a lot of threes, cool, we're going to out-rebound them, and at a certain point they're going to miss those shots. Well, they never missed shots, and they won the championship shooting threes. So he transcended the game, man. It was very much something different than we'd ever seen.
Going back, Ryan, to Reed Shepherd, because I'm curious from last year to this year, is it just a matter of getting more minutes and finding a flow more that's allowed him to kind of shine in these categories?
Yeah, minutes have been huge, but I think one thing with Ime and, watching film with Reed Shepherd and the focus they have with him, he's had to go out and he's had to be better defensively. His effort had to be there. And again, I think not just from the coaching staff, but like Kevin Durant coming over and being like, take these shots. Or the Milwaukee game, he turned the game around, kind of with a couple of the plays that he made and the shots that he hit where the team couldn't really shoot well. And the first thing Kevin Durant goes is Reed Shepherd won us that game. But like, they've infused confidence in Reed Shepherd that has him walking different, talking different. Yeah. The excitement's there. Like, the hesitation's been gone. But when you have a guy backing you up of that caliber, one of the greatest to ever do it, you start believing you can do anything, and we've seen that from Reed.
Hey, Ryan, I wanted to ask you, you kind of were barking up the same tree I was getting ready to ask you, is we're going through a culture change, front office change. Coach Doug Christie, former player like Coach Ime Udoka. We, from the outside looking in Houston, when we seen Coach Udoka come to Houston, you could see the attitude completely change for the Rockets. Am I clear in asking that, or am I completely wrong, or has he really added who he is and the Rockets have kind of followed behind him?
No, man, this is all Ime. From first off with accountability, his mindset, the way he relates to players. He challenges guys, and we talk about things you can't really do. He's like, nah, we're going to play defense in this era of three-point shooting, and everybody, it's too much pace, too much space to be able to defend. And Ime's like, nah, if you can't do it, I'm going to find someone who can. And I think he's changed the culture there. And, a lot of it, you can look at the Alfred Şengün and see the success that he's had. But, he was hard on these guys. And the guys who he's been hardest on have really excelled. So that is Ime. That is 100% Ime.
Mm-hmm. And to that point, Ryan, as you know, the Rockets are, I think they're second in three-point percentage, but they're 29th in attempts. They don't play with a lot of pace. So in some ways, are they kind of almost a throwback team?
I wouldn't say that the pace isn't there. It's just different because you have a team with a Ben Thompson that will get out and run.
Uh-huh.
The one thing they haven't done is getting the stops. The defense has taken a little bit of a step back, even though it has improved. It's been up and down. The consistency hadn't been there as it was, in the past, just to be honest. So I think that's probably the biggest difference that we're seeing. So Houston has gotten out and run, but it just hasn't been the same. And then you have dominant players like Alfred Şengün and KD, who in the half court, you can just let those guys put the ball in their hands and get out the way. And I think that's been a huge, huge difference there.
Going back to KD, and you were telling us that, he's been an influence on some of these younger players, even helping with the confidence side of things. Over here in Sacramento, Westbrook comes here, and I think he's outplayed expectations. Being the age that he is, he's really helped in certain situations here, I think with younger guys too, according to Doug Christie. How unique is it right now that we're seeing, ironically, two guys that played together in Oklahoma City still be so influential in the game in Westbrook and KD?
Man, it's their longevity. There's no accident behind it, and they play the game the right way. You can't cheat the game, and especially at this age, it's all repetitive habits, consistency, and there's one thing about talent, and there's one thing about working hard and earning your keep. And both those guys have done that, and two of the harder workers that we have in the game. KD's a guy who comes in after practice, before practice. You literally have to pull him out of the gym. That's how much that he shoots and he works. And when you see like a guy like that, it rubs off. And I would say for KD, this is the most vocal he's been as a leader. Normally he's a guy who just, leads by example. And there's nothing wrong with that. We all have different styles of leadership. But this year he's been very, very hands-on in going out and putting his hands on young guys and making sure that they are, confident in doing the things that, you really expect out of them.
Joined by Ryan Hollins, 10-year NBA vet, of course, the voice of television for the Houston Rockets, color analyst. Ryan, one of the things that you guys kind of faced with Fred VanVleet going out early was a void at the point guard, and Amin Thompson has kind of jumped in on paper. Of course, you got the wily veteran Aaron Holiday behind him. How's been the move when it comes to the point guard and how you guys are approaching that with Fred VanVleet out?
No surprise, man. And I think it's been kind of really filled at the end of the day by committee. And when I say that, Amin Thompson will bring the ball up. You've seen Reed Shepherd in moments that we just talked about earlier. And I think the biggest surprise is Point Shingun. I didn't think that, with the game on the line, he'd be bringing the ball up the court, and that's one thing we've seen a lot of. And, he's played it extremely well, man. But I think everybody shouldered that load. And I think you have a different appreciation for Fred, like a guy, you put the ball in his hands and then you don't have to worry about anything moving forward, and he just, makes plays and makes sure everybody's happy and gets looks. So Fred VanVleet is different, man. But I think it has been a pleasant surprise seeing the guys play well, and Aaron Holiday's been, just on fire with his minutes and the production that he's had. So I think it's been a somewhat of a blessing in disguise, but make no mistake, Fred is still extremely missed.
Hey, Ryan, last night, I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but the Phoenix Suns beat the Lakers in L.A., and, of course, Dylan Brooks had a big offensive night, and he was getting under LeBron's skin. Now, I know the Rockets are very happy with their side of the trade, and it looks like it's working out for Dylan Brooks, but you had a front row seat at how he does that, gets under people's skins for so long. Are you surprised that he's still able? I mean, it's LeBron, and he clearly was antagonizing LeBron. How does he consistently do it night after night after night?
Nah, man, Dylan's missed. He is a huge part of setting the culture here in Houston with the things, with what he's brought to the table. He doesn't have an off switch. He plays hard. Like any game that Dylan Brooks is in, automatically, like, the energy goes to a different level. The hype is there. So it didn't surprise me, man. And the one thing that people don't know, man, he's become a heck of a three-point shooter. He's a knockdown shooter, man. And, again, he's one of those tireless workers, man. But it's no mistake that Phoenix was like, yeah, you got KD, but we're taking Dylan Brooks back. Mm-hmm. And you see what he's doing with the culture there. He's a culture shifter. And you think everywhere he's been, Memphis hadn't been the same since he's been gone. He helped Houston get where they need to go. And the Suns are by far exceeding expectations.
Ryan Hollins joining us here on The Drive, guys. And when it comes to exceeding expectations, the Sacramento Kings not really doing that this year at all. And I know they are there tomorrow. I don't know how much you've dug in to the Kings and what they've done this season, but is there anything from an outside perspective that maybe has surprised you a little about, not having as many wins?
Yeah, I think for the Kings, it's where do I
start?
You have a group.
Kayla stumped you. She stopped you cold.
For one, how was Russell Westbrook available? Yeah. That amazes me, and that was a huge pickup. I think they got to get back to defending and playing hard. When they compete, they're a group that has enough talent and shooting that can play with any and everybody. And I think you get into a tough situation. I've been there before in Sacramento, where you're pointing fingers, and I think you got to move on the string. You got to do the little things. You got to commit there. And I think when they've done that, you've seen Sacramento kind of compete with anybody. And I think they had some tough losses also. In the Western Conference, this is the talent level is off the charts. There's no nights off, literally, and people are looking at Sacramento and saying, this is a must win. We got to take care of business here. So nobody's going to be apologetic or feel bad for them, but they got to dig themselves out of this hole. And again, I don't think it gets any easier. And make no mistake, man, Mike Brown is a heck of a coach. He did a heck of a job there. So I think you're missing what he brought to the table. And they're trying to De'Aaron Fox not being there, Halliburton not being there. Those guys have to move forward. But I think the hard play, the consistency. You look at what's my man over in San Antonio, who Harrison Barnes was a big part of what was going on there. You lose that, so I think you got to appreciate the guys that were there. I don't think it gets any easier, and it's a group that's kind of shown, like, when they play hard, like, they have a shot. But you're going to play hard, you're going to work, and it's the Western Conference. You're going to lose some games within that, and you can't let that discourage you. And I think that most of all, they've let some of that discourage them, and that's what you've seen with the Kings.
Very diplomatic.
Yeah, that boy, Brian. Ryan,
Yeah.
I'm going to throw one more at
pro.
you kind of in the same sense, big time, because you've been a part of some good teams, great teams, and then also been a part of some lean teams. Charlotte, of course, drafting you the year in Minnesota. I believe you guys won under 20 games when you played that year. Like, how does one get – and I know you're going to tell me be professional because that's who you are, but how does one consistently come to the arena every single night and give the effort when you know you're probably not on a winning team?
Man, you got to focus on the controllables, and you got to understand there's a lot of people in this league watching and seeing what you bring to the table and what you don't. So you got to focus on what you can do, and then we've seen that in this league. They'll make a trade or move forward, and you want to be on the right side of those trades or whatever's going to happen or not happen. So you got to make sure that you're doing your job, but you never want to see, in a sense, a meltdown go on, or things are funny, man. You just put your head down and do the right things. And again, I've been in those situations. You look up 2-3 years later, shoot, even in that same season, there's a couple of my teammates, that guys that I had that weren't in the league anymore. I played 10 years because I've been in those situations, and you knew Ryan Hollins was going to work hard, rebound, stay focused, and show up every night to work, So I think you got to selfishly do the right things, do the little things, and then you got to buy in and understand, like, hey, man, we gave it our effort. It just wasn't there. And what really sucks is mentally you never get content with those losses. You're going to have to be upset about each and every one of them, and that makes, when you win, if you're fortunate too, that makes those days that much sweeter.
Man, so you're telling me it wasn't the check? No, I'm kidding. No,
Man.
I'm sure it's a consideration. Thank you, Ryan. You're the best. Thank you, brother.
Anytime. And let me say this too, man. In Sacramento, man, I hate seeing the fans go out and challenge players, man. You don't know what those guys are going through. And let's not create a culture of that either, Sacramento. We got to be better than that. The players know they got work to do. I didn't like seeing that. That's bad for the game.
Gotcha. Thank you. By the way, here's what we need you to say for my video. Maybe you can do it now. We're recording. I'm Ryan Hollins. This is the video that gets results. Can you say that for us?
I'm Ryan Hollins. This is a video by Whitey Gleason that gets results.
That's it. Thanks, brother. Well, appreciate it. Enjoy the game, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much, Ryan.
Man, anytime, guys.
There you
awesome.
go, Ryan Hollins.
That's great.
Thank you. That was Peg Junk's idea. So there you go, Peg Junk.
That was awesome that